Who, what, where, why, and how? The answers are Inside Health.
Coming up in this episode of Inside Health, Russia's biological experts tell their US counterparts to chill out. The anthrax strains causing panic are relatively harmless, they say, especially when you consider the alternatives. And if you thought that milk was as nutritious as it could be, think again. A team of doctors in Massachusetts want the local dairies to begin adding a daily dose of vitamin E, which they claim will lower the risk of cardiovascular disease. And smokers who take vitamin C supplements to boost their health are in for a nasty shock, according to Sydney University's School of Biomedical Sciences. The new study shows that smokers are actually increasing their risk of contracting cancer. Every year, 120 million people around the world suffer from migraine. The whole nature of the illness is surrounded by myths, and to counter this, the UK's leading organisation in the field has launched Migraine Awareness Week. But first, a few vital steps in performing a unique operation, otherwise known as carrying a healthy liver to its new owner. The tissue was removed from 42-year-old Stephen Bassett and is about to be transplanted into his father, Philip. The difference between the two organs is plain to see. The surgeon is holding the diseased liver, which is very small in comparison to just half of a healthy liver. But this is no ordinary liver transplant. A team of surgeons at the Southern California University Hospital in Los Angeles are the only ones in the world who perform a transfusion-free liver transplant from a living donor. So far, all those who've had the surgery are Jehovah's Witnesses, who refuse to take blood due to their religious beliefs. The Bassetts travelled across the country because it was their only hope. While the procedure provides a solution for those who refuse to take blood, even if their life's in danger, it brings with it extra responsibility for the surgeons involved. Doctors hope it will one day be used in other kinds of surgery too, providing not only a safer alternative for patients, but helping preserve an already dwindling blood supply. This pig's heart continues to beat, even though it's attached to a mechanical device. That's because this revolutionary system keeps pumping real blood through every vessel that it normally would. The device has been a success for every organ tested so far. The portable organ preservation system has been in development for 4 years. It began as a quest to find a better organ transport system than a Ziploc bag and a cooler full of ice. Donor hearts begin to lose viability after just 3 to 4 hours on ice. But in the POPS system, animal hearts have so far remained viable for up to 38 hours. This means more organs could become available for transplantation. The system can also revive organs that might otherwise be discarded, including those for trauma victims. Even human kidneys passed over for transplantation functioned well inside the device. Currently, only 9 POPS prototypes exist, but pending FDA approval, the Transmedics company plans to produce many more for use around the world. Jean Simpson has arachnophobia, but in her case it's not the traditional 8-legged variety that bother her. It's spider veins, and they've been crawling up the backs of her legs for years. While sclerotherapy or saline needle injections that cause the veins to collapse is still the most common removal method, Jean tried it but wasn't impressed. Now she's decided to try a somewhat less painful and hopefully more effective treatment. Dr. Christopher Zachary of the University of California, San Francisco Medical Center uses a laser to get the job done. The procedure is quick and results are seen immediately, while a short recovery time is as simple as staying off one's feet and wearing bandage wraps. Insurance companies generally won't cover spider vein removal because it's considered a cosmetic, elective treatment. The good news is that there's little chance of scarring, and what seems to be mostly a vanity issue is quickly resolved. Our last surgical story takes us to Vietnam, where facial deformities seem commonplace. But one little boy with a cleft palate was lucky. He was one of 18 patients treated by a team of visiting American doctors. A large part of the problem is crowded streets and lack of traffic regulations. It's common to see entire families riding motor scooters without helmets. This recipe for disaster is served in the city's emergency rooms, where doctors see 5 to 15 facial fractures a day. The other problem is lack of resources. High-tech titanium screws and plates are routine in most wealthier countries. The 4-surgeon team repaired accident-related fractures and fixed several failed surgeries. But the US doctors went a step further and trained Vietnamese surgeons in their current procedures. They also videotaped each surgery for later review. According to the surgical team, their lives were changed by the experience and hope their efforts make a difference to many more lives. The emerging threat of biological warfare has focused the spotlight on America's public health system. Experts testified before the United States Senate that the nation was not ready. Employees of a large news publishing company stood in long lines to be tested and get antibiotics for possible exposure to anthrax after 2 workers became infected. While anthrax is getting the most attention, it's smallpox that scares health officials most. The disease has claimed more lives than any other infectious disease, killing 500 million in the 20th century alone. Vaccinations against the highly contagious disease were stopped 30 years ago. The US federal government has already approved $40 billion for emergency bioterror research, but many warn that the health system's infrastructure and hospital resources are the true weak links. While they admit the threat is real, the public health officials say a large-scale biological attack is highly unlikely because it would be difficult and expensive to carry out. These pictures are of anthrax outbreaks in Russia over the past years. But the black splotches and festering sores that cover these bodies are not the result of a letter with white powder or a terrorist attack. They're a normal sight in a region used to anthrax. Anthrax has been documented and treated in Russia, especially the rural Siberian region, since the 18th century. In all, 25 to 30 cases of human anthrax are registered here each year. While America struggles to understand anthrax and the danger it poses as an instrument of attack, Russian health officials express sympathy and concern, but also some bemusement. After all, they say, it's only anthrax. Vladimir Orlovsky is the head doctor at the infectious disease ward of the Vector Research Institute of Siberia. According to him, anthrax is a serious and uncommon illness, but not exotic. The disease can be contracted by veterinarians and farm workers, but also from contaminated animal products such as leather and meat. Orlovsky has already treated 3 veterinarians in the past year alone. Health experts and scientists do, however, set apart the types of naturally occurring anthrax, known in these parts as Siberian ulcers, and the anthrax that's produced as a military biological weapon. At its peak, the former Soviet Union had the world's largest biological warfare program, with up to 32,000 people employed in military and civilian laboratories and research institutions. Russia, backed strongly with American funding, has undergone a program to destroy much of its biological weapon stock, but it's uncertain how many tons and what types of biological weapons still remain. At the same institute where Orlovsky works, Russia stores the deadly smallpox virus. This is only one of 2 places in the world. The other is the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, where smallpox is officially contained. Russian officials have assured the public that these deadly materials are well secured, and independent experts say that these deadly strains are not the ones being spread in America. According to independent experts, if Russia's military-grade anthrax were being used, America's death count would be much higher than the current number of registered cases. Russia's biological weapon strain of anthrax is so potent that it would claim a 100% death rate of all who came into contact with it. For Russian experts, America's rediscovery of anthrax provides an impetus to an ongoing debate of how nations should store deadly biological diseases and what purposes these microbes still serve. On one hand, the hazardous vials will always be a potential deadly weapon, at risk of falling into the hands of international terrorists. But these same strains can also be used for vital research needed to provide vaccinations against future outbreaks or attacks. And still on the subject of biological or biochemical attacks, this Japanese Special Counter-Terrorism Unit is practicing decontaminating an area that could have been a target. Like authorities in the United States, this unit is on high alert, having doubled in size since the September 11th attacks. According to the press officer of a Tokyo security company, the firm has been flooded by calls from the general public requesting gas masks since the US attacks. As a result of those calls, the company's been providing emergency gas masks much earlier than its expected delivery date. Japan is no stranger to biochemical attacks. The 1995 sarin gas attack on a Tokyo subway killed 12 commuters and injured more than 5,000 people. Gas masks on the market for the general public filter poisonous substances, but the makers warn they're powerless to stop viral or bacterial agents. The cost is an estimated $58 US, and they're not as good a quality as the military masks, but they are more affordable. "60-year-old Marilyn Jackson is undergoing a sobriety test, the same test used by police to determine whether drivers are drunk. But Jackson is not inebriated, though she has the same symptoms: difficulty with balance and slurred speech. Dr. Holly Schill of the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, believes an allergic reaction to wheat may be the cause. People with sensitivity to gluten, a protein found in wheat, can develop an autoimmune response that leads to the digestive disorder celiac disease. Over time, people with celiac disease can develop speech and movement difficulties due to brain damage in the cerebellum. The cerebellum is at the back of the brain and should normally be filled with the same grey matter as the rest of the brain. In this case, we see darker spaces developing. David Shankar has difficulties walking and talking. Tests have ruled out stroke or multiple sclerosis as a possible cause. He, like Jackson, has tested positive for gluten sensitivity. Shankar and Jackson will now follow a gluten-free diet for 1 year to determine if the diet can help keep their neurological degeneration from progressing. For some people, food sensitivity isn't just a little dangerous, it's deadly. Food allergies span the globe and symptoms range from rashes to shock or even death. Doctors at the University of Nebraska see hope in genetically engineered food. But the American Medical Association warns that enthusiasm for biotechnology's potential should be tempered by extensive testing. Scientists are working on genetically altering the allergy-triggering proteins in some foods. However, many worry that this biotechnology could create new allergies. Last year, millions of taco shells were recalled after it was discovered they contained a genetically modified corn, which is only approved for animal feed. Before getting FDA approval for human consumption, engineered foods undergo thorough testing. While non-allergenic genetically engineered food is still a long way off, scientists are making progress with peanut allergy research, a potentially life-saving advancement for those with deadly allergies. And here's some food for thought. Do you really know what you're eating? According to the Center for Science in the Public Interest, food manufacturers are playing a game of hide and seek with package labels. Bruce Silverglade, the group's legal director, petitioned the FDA to stop manufacturers from implying foods contain ingredients that they don't. Silverglade found several examples, like a strawberry yogurt that was flavoured with beet juice, not strawberries, while the blue specks in these blueberry pancakes are actually just fat and sugar clumps with blue dye. The group is pushing the FDA to require US companies to disclose exact percentages of ingredients, like manufacturers do in the European Union, Australia and New Zealand. Meanwhile, the Food and Drug Administration has not announced any plans to tighten labelling requirements, so the next time you're in the supermarket, double check on those ingredients. And if you drink milk, you're getting plenty of nutrients in every glass. But if doctors at Brandeis University, Massachusetts have their way, we may all soon be getting one more: vitamin E. They want dairies to begin adding a daily dose of vitamin E, which studies have shown may lower the risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer. The team put vitamin E in several kinds of milk, as well as in orange juice. Results in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed the fat content didn't matter. All the milks demonstrated high absorption rates. However, the orange juice did not. Researchers believe the curd, or casein protein in milk, is the key. John Vile, manager at a small dairy in Rhode Island, believes it would take only seconds to add E right along with A and D. So don't be surprised if people start asking, would you like some E with that? This man has a brain tumour. Tumours in the brain or the spinal column are in such sensitive places that conventional radiation is often deemed too risky. But scientists at the Institute for Heavy Ion Therapy in Germany believe they've found a better way to treat cancerous tumours that are difficult to reach. They've conducted years of trials using heavy ion radiation. Scientists say that heavy ion radiation is better than conventional treatments, as it attacks the tumour without damaging the healthy tissue surrounding it. The charged carbon ions are also extremely accurate, striking at tumours like bullets. The ions leave the reactor at about 12,000 miles a second, reaching maximum speed at the point of impact with the tumour. Because healthy tissue isn't damaged, patients suffer less side effects and can go home after treatment. The results of the trials have been promising so far. The scientists say that heavy ion radiation can help thousands of people with untreatable tumours in the brain and spine, offering a very high chance of survival. Nine-year-old British boy Sebastian Selo survived his brain surgery operation recently to remove a rare tumour at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, Australia. He's already returned home to England with a clean bill of health. Sebastian's mother, Anna, believes the surgery has transformed his life. A team of surgeons removed a nerve tissue lump the size of a large grape, which caused Sebastian to endure repeated epileptic seizures, affecting his motions, behaviour and movement. The lump was located in what should have been an empty brain cavity between the halves of Sebastian's brain. The Australian team has built an international reputation for conducting this surgery and has helped children from the US, Britain, Hong Kong and Mongolia. Unlike surgery, chemotherapy is a weekly ordeal for millions of cancer patients, yet in more than a quarter of cases, it's largely ineffective. Now, a revolutionary research project at the Norris Cancer Center in Los Angeles is changing all that. For the past decade, doctors here have been working to get better results from this vital cancer treatment. Researchers have finally identified certain genes in tumour tissue which can predict which kind of chemotherapy a patient will best respond to. Now, a simple blood test can steer patients towards more effective drugs as well as alert doctors to potential side effects. The technology has been in use for little over a year, but doctors are already seeing the results. The technique is currently being used for the treatment of colon and gastric cancers. However, studies are being conducted into its relevance for other types of the disease. And doctors hope that any further findings will help oncologists fight the battle against cancer and avoid unnecessary pain and suffering for patients. In related news, promising new trials are underway to treat the most common form of leukemia, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL. It's particularly troubling because it often isn't detected until it's in its later incurable stage. Researchers at Ohio State's James Cancer Hospital say a new treatment could soon give them a powerful tool to battle this deadly disease. The new drug behind this breakthrough is called HU1-D10. It targets invisible tumor cells and makes them identifiable to the immune system. Doctors believe the new therapy could double a patient's chances of going into remission without any side effects. This new drug may enable doctors to begin treating CLL patients earlier and is one step closer to finding a cure. And smokers who take vitamin C supplements, believing they're boosting their health, are in for a shock. A new Australian study says they could in fact be increasing their risk of contracting cancer. Every puff contains more than 40 cancer-causing compounds, and one of them is cadmium, which becomes even more potent when combined with ordinary vitamin C supplements. Cadmium, which is also found in shellfish, remains in the body for at least 35 years. Normally, the vitamin protects cells as it's an antioxidant, but the reaction with cadmium is just the opposite. Researchers are now eager to see how cadmium reacts with other vitamins and minerals. "28-year-old Nisha Motwani has suffered from migraines since her early teens. Her symptoms range from headaches through to nausea and sickness. Despite seeing many specialists, none diagnosed her illness while she suffered alone. It's the same for others too. Often their illness is dismissed as insignificant or trivial. At times they're misdiagnosed and don't get the right treatment. Migraines are more complex than just being simple headaches. Here at the special helpline set up by the Migraine Trust in London, they're assisting thousands of callers who ring in. They believe their work is vital in helping migraine sufferers cope with their problems. The main focus of the helpline is to empower the migraine sufferer to manage their migraines for themselves and to get on top of their disability. Migraines affect 1 in 4 women, 1 in 12 men, and 1 in 9 children. The World Health Organization says that they should be classified as a major health disorder. It's hoped by raising its profile, there'll be more awareness of migraines to help sufferers deal with their debilitating condition effectively. That brings us to the end of this edition. We look forward to your company next time for Inside Health.